Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closure Show. I am excited and jacked up today to have our good friend Merrill Chandler join us from Credit Sense, all the way from Utah this morning. What is up, Merrill? Looks like you're getting a little bit of rain out there behind you, huh?
It is. It's actually stormy. It's one of those days you wish you were. I was at home with my computer in front of the fireplace with some coffee and alcohol in it, doing my work from home.
I don't know how much work you'll be getting done after a few Baileys, but hey, it's a good idea there. It's right. A nice rainy day here in Austin, Texas as well, too. But for those that don't know who Merrill is the rock star, the man, the myth, the legend behind Credit Sense. He's been helping so many entrepreneurs and real estate investors out there really, as he likes to say, weaponize your credit. But today, you want to talk a little bit about the $1 million funding formula that you guys are doing so well with so many investors and entrepreneurs out there, right?
Yes, absolutely. See, when you weaponize your credit profile, your personal credit profile, what we're doing is we're saying we want to be able to go take that profile out and leverage it, right? Turn it into a money-making machine. How do we leverage that? And quickly, your personal profile many times is mistaken as the workhorse of your financial life. And it's not designed that way. You're not scored that way. It's actually the goose that lays the golden eggs. So when you make, hey, Scott, you love all the metaphors.
I love them. It's metaphor. It's not Monday, but we can say metaphor midday.
Yeah, right. I have been drinking Bailey. No, just kidding. So, but it's the goose that lays the golden egg. You're supposed to be doing all the heavy lifting for entrepreneurs and real estate investors, noters. Everybody wants to be, you want to be doing all that heavy lifting on your business credit profile and using business credit instruments, not your personal. Too many guys, too many people out there are buying notes on credit card, personal instruments, or getting on their HELOCs, right? And anytime you have to carry a balance, it hurts your credit profile. And so you diminish or lower your fundability when you use your personal. But if you treat your goose that lays the golden egg, if it's a healthy and wealthy and wise goose, then you do certain strategic activities, run certain traffic patterns on your accounts, carry certain balances, etc. Then you look like a rock star to everybody, all the lenders. And then the lenders want to give you money because they look at your personal profile and it rocks. It's amazing. And so what Z Funding is our new announcement, because it's powered by Credit Sense. Z Funding is a $1 million funding formula. We say $1 million. It's basically however much you want to implement the formula is how much money comes out the other end, right? So we have clients. Our minimum is $100,000. Just yesterday, we had a client get $85,000 in his first round of funding of business lines of credit. Unsecured, 3 to 6% interest credit lines where you write a check and do a deal. Okay, I think he's a we close notes client. He's a note camp client.
Nice.
Yeah, Tom from Muskogee, Wisconsin.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
Oh, I love Muskogee, Wisconsin. Anyway, so that's the purpose of this of Z Funding, is we have put it into a funding formula where you do the right things on your personal profile and do the right things to create what we call a qualified funding entity. And there's certain structures that you need to have in order to make this entity. It's not hard, but when you do it, you put those two together, and business lenders will give you business credit cards and business lines of credit, just like Tom yesterday, and he got $85,000 in his first round. We've had people with $500,000 first round. They asked for documentation, but when they saw the profile and the 24-month look-back period, they didn't even, she was supposed to provide financials and her tax returns, and they approved her without, which makes that unsecured stated income, because they didn't actually end up getting the documentation. $500,000 on her business.
Wow.
So the funding formula is that process to make somebody fundable.
Good stuff. So for those of you that don't know who this man and what Credit Sense is, why don't we take it back a step here a little bit, Merrill, and talk about, because I think people think Credit Sense, they start thinking, oh, are you a credit repair agency?
Yeah.
So let's clear that up really fast. Exactly. First and foremost,
Yes.
we don't want people thinking that aspect. Let's talk about what you guys do, because you guys are not a credit repair agency.
Yeah, no, but muggles think what they will, right? No, we're credit repair. In 1992, so 25 years ago, 26 years ago, I co-founded Lexington Law Firm, which is today the single largest credit repair law firm in the country, right? I know the credit space, and my roots are in founding what is now a monster in the business. Just like now we're built, Z Funding and Credit Sense is a monstrosity in the marketplace in being able to deliver amazing results. So, but from that space, I learned that with tens of thousands of credit profiles, I was able to basically reverse engineer the FICO algorithm. This FICO algorithm is how they measure your fundability, whether you get a yes or a no. And credit score isn't always that thing. The higher the credit score, the more likely it is. But without getting into the details, come to note camp. I will put it all on the line. But the idea is that credit repair is the ability to delete a few negative accounts. Credit optimization, funding optimization, is to build a profile that lenders want to lend to, okay? So credit repair, delete a few accounts. You cannot credit repair your way to fundability. Can't happen. You have to build positive accounts and run traffic patterns and do all these things that allow a lender to look at you and go, I'm going to approve you. And one of our strategies is we teach our clients, hey, I only need a few grand on a credit line, but automatic underwriting, when you've done it all right, we'll get $50,000 and $60,000 approvals when we ask for 5, because the software takes over because we're hitting all the right metrics. So FICO measures 40 characteristics of a credit profile. Only 8 of those apply to negative items. That means there's 32 ways to raise your fundability without touching a negative account. So
wow.
We are not credit repair.
Hang on a second. I want you to state that again, because I think a lot of people, they completely bog themselves down based on what was happened in the past ground. You know, that Victoria's Secret's credit card that they charged up, didn't pay, or didn't put anything on. Say what?
Notorious.
I'm talking about all the guys out there buying their pink stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know. Bless their hearts.
Right. But the thing is, there's 40 points. You said 40 points that measure fundability. Only 8 are based on background.
On negative credit. Wow. Exactly. Only 8 go with negative credit. So that means we can optimize a profile and not remove all the negative items. I have clients with 800 plus fundable profiles with a collection or a judgment still on their profile, because we can overwhelm negative points with positive points.
Wow. And so without giving away the formula, we don't want to do that. I love that. But what are some of the simple things that you see people, like some of the things that kind of bog down those 32 points? It's a variety of things.
Absolutely. All right. So let's go over a couple of business things and a couple of personal things. Both, because remember, it's qualified funding entity and an optimized personal profile that's optimized for business lending. Okay, business borrowing. So first of all, let's talk about the difference between what is true business credit. Listen carefully, everybody, because you're not going to hear this from anybody else. If it reports on your personal credit profile, it is not business credit, no matter what it says on the card or on the statement. I will repeat. If it reports on your personal profile, your Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, if that card or that credit line shows up on your personal credit, it is not business credit. So our number one mistake is if you have a Capital One business credit card, Spark, or any of the other ones, they report to your personal credit. Put the gun down. Put the gun down. It is not business credit. And you're not getting business juice for having that your fundability is not positively affected by having that particular card. So first thing you got to do is you got to vet whoever you're going to look at. And we have lists of all the real ones, and we help our clients dial in exactly what they need to qualify for in order to have true business credit. But I'm just telling everybody, what's in your wallet? It better not be a Capital One card. Okay, just saying.
For your business, you're saying for your business.
For business, yeah. Well, Capital One, bless their hearts. Same with, here's a couple of other ones where people, you're saying, what are graded? What are the 32 gradings? There are tiers of accounts. Those accounts can be a tier 1 account all the way down to a tier 4 account. One is better. Then each type of credit instrument has a different value contribution to your profile. It could be 100% or it could be 40%. Well, Capital One is a tier 2, 80% card. And if it's joint, if you're on it with somebody else, it's now worth 60% because there's a downgrade in whether or not you're an individual card user or a joint user. American Express is they're marketing companies. American Express isn't a depository institution. Neither is Capital One, right? Neither is Discover. All tier 2 instruments. So those instruments, now they may be high value because you've had them for 5 or 10 years and you have a $10,000 or $20,000 credit line. We're not going to tell you to close them, but if it still isn't the maximum possible points that you can have, not just credit score points, but fundability points, because the big 4 or 5 banks, the Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citi, and
Chase,
those have the most stringent underwriting criteria. And so a business lender who sees a portfolio with the right kind of cards, the right kind of things, that creates credibility both in the underwriting technical metrics, as well as in the face value, the curb appeal by a human underwriter. When you've got these awesome cards, then the best business lenders are community banks, tier 2 banks, tier 3 banks, etc. So credit unions, they love lending to small businesses, but you want to have a personal profile that is impressive. And so you want the high tier, high value accounts over on your personal, and then you can go anywhere. I always tease the women in the room when I do my conferences and presentations. It's always easier to marry down than marry up, right, ladies? So that's the exact same thing with credit. We want to marry, we want an amazing personal profile so we look amazing to lower value institutions, but who are really awesome at lending to businesses.
That's valuable right there. I'm gonna give it another thing like that aspect of things, because I think a lot of people don't understand that, and that was one of the biggest aha moments is that the credit cards or the credit things have a different scale on there. What's the lowest aspect of things on that scale?
Yeah, tier 4, 40%. We already made fun of beautiful. When I tell women and or men who have Victoria's Secret cards, you have great taste in lingerie, but horrible taste in credit. Anything that comes from a mall, anything is technically called a finance card. It is, you actually will look at your profile and it'll say a consumer finance card. And anything that's consumer finance, it's actually a red down arrow. You get docked points for having any kind of finance company card, which means somebody's backstopping. Victoria's Secret doesn't carry its own paper, right?
Right.
It could be Chase or it could be Capital One, et cetera. So it's a low value card. Any online card, sorry guys, all the Amazons, all the PayPals, anything that the Walmarts, anything that is financed by another bank is a tier 4, 40%. They are the worst things to have. Now, don't go closing your tier 4 cards, guys. Don't go closing your tier 4 cards. What I will tell you to do is if it's less than 6 months old, close it. You'll take a small hit in points, but you'll rebound over 6 months. But if it's larger than 6 months old, get a funding analysis that we do, so that, because there's a timetable. If it's contributing positively to your credit profile, you want to actually replace those low value points with high value points. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that you have high value points, replacing those before you close them. Part of our process is we actually rank all cards by their contribution to your fundability, and then we delete the bottom rung, then the next one, until we have our perfect profile.
Now, some people have asked me since why do we have talking about getting lines of credit when we do such a big thing talking about using other people's money out there? And I want to clarify that real fast. There's nothing wrong with other people's money. We love it. It's great, awesome, good stuff. But there's also some very big merit to having lines of credit to be able to write a check at pretty low interest rates. It's going to be one of the lowest interest rates you end up getting versus 12% or giving up half the deal.
Private money. Yep.
Exactly, to your private money investor. So, and Merrill and his team over there are the best at what they do, about what they're doing. Now, I want to see if you guys are watching this online, live on Facebook Live, feel free to ask your questions. I see quite a few people watching this and liking this. Is great. If you're listening to this iTunes or Stitcher, Merrill, you mentioned something about a credit analysis or a credit view. Why don't you talk a little about kind of what goes into that for those out there?
First things first, I want to tell everybody the best OPM is commercial OPM.
Yes.
And Scott's absolutely right. These credit lines they're right now at current rates. It's prime plus 1, 2, or 3%. It's or any percent or any fraction thereof. But it's the lowest possible money because they are what we call trophy lines. If you're playing the credit game to win, right? Can you win a game if you don't know the rules? No. So to play this game, you got to learn the rules and then you can win it. What is the evidence of you winning the credit game, the funding game, the note game? Trophy lines. You get a trophy when you are killing it in your knowledge and your capacity to get the right kind of profiles that will sustain business lending. So we call these unsecured stated income, 3 to 6% or a prime plus, and check writing. And as Scott said, check writing ability, you can do a deal by writing a check. Period. No advance fees. You're not giving away. Scott, I call it body part pricing. When you give away 50% of your deal or pay 10 to 15%, 8% in fees and interest, I call that, because you're paying an arm and a leg for your money, right? So I call it body part pricing. Now, once we get rid of that body part pricing as our the only game in town, you are able to create the right kind of structure that any deal you want to do, you have the resources and the capital to create it. Now, good news is all of these credit lines start out, some people can get 10, some people can get 50 out of the gate, and they grow. Every 6 months they grow, but they grow based on your intelligent use of it, which we coach on, of course. But when you use it intelligently, they give you more money. How many of you receive an email or a letter in the mail from one of your credit cards, your personal credit cards, that say, we've just raised your credit limit $500 or $5,000. You didn't apply for it. They didn't pull an inquiry. You didn't justify your income with them. They just gave it to you. Anybody? Get a shout out there on your, because
yes,
it happens all the time. That's called automatic limit increases. Now imagine 5 to 10 business lines of credit that every 6 months you get a letter like that says, oh, we just raised your credit limit. Because you played the game the way the lenders need you to play to feel safe, to give you gobs and gobs of money. That is what we do. Mm-hmm. So regarding the funding analysis, so we offer to in every note camp, in every one of Scott's vehicles that he puts out on the market, and Scott, mad props to just the presence God you are when it comes to creating influence and changing people's lives. Seriously, no joke. So I aspire to be a Scott when I grow up. So Anyway, what we offer is what we call a funding analysis. The prerequisite to that analysis is you got to watch a presentation because you got to know what we're going to be talking about. But in the analysis, we look at your personal credit profile and we review how fundable you are. We just grade it right there. And I'll tell you how far away from or close to funding you are, and whether it's going to be tens or 20s or 50s or $100,000. We can tell you that in our conversation. It's a review. It's not a sales call. Swear to Buddha, you'll be blown away, and we record it in case you want a recording of it because there's so much intel, actionable intel in these analyses. But once you schedule that, you have to watch the presentation so you can get the foundation for what it is we do and how we do it, and then you can take a look at, and then we can just look together and see if one of our packages is right for you, or if you found enough information to do something on your own.
Yeah, it's a really valuable aspect, and we've got some people on there. Todd LaPierre says Merrill is great. He opened my eyes to the secrets of credit. Amazing program.
Go Todd! Woohoo! Yeah. I know. Hey, Todd.
There you go. Tadio Cavazza said this is great information. I like it. Laura Blunks is perking up my ears. Let's see here. Carla Freeman, this is great information. Where can I get a consultation from Mr. Merrill? So why don't we talk to him about how and where they need to go to get one of those?
All right, perfect. First of all, info at zfunding.com. Info at zfunding.com, and just say, I watched Scott Carson's Facebook Live, and my team will know by the time I finish this conversation who you are and what we discussed. So info at zfunding.com. You can also call 801-438-9090 and speak to my team. You'll be we are not a gargantuan operation. Okay, you're going to be talking to my assistant about setting up a profile, and if you can fit in my schedule, I will handle it personally. The other person is my chief funding officer. We don't take this lightly. We don't train a salesperson to do analyses. We want to know whether or not we want you as a client, whether or not you have the capacity to do what we need to do, because in the last 2 years, $31 million in business credit fundings. That should be $90 million if my clients would keep on it and do their part of our process. Right? So Todd, get busy. No, just kidding. So our clients, it's a partnership, right? We have a done for you service, but regardless, there are things you need to do. And if you do it, the money is waiting at the end of this fall of dominoes. So that's info at zfunding.com, zfunding, info at zfunding.com, 801-438-9090. You can also go to
slow down with the phone number. Slow down with the phone number so I can type it in the comments for everybody.
Oh, okay. Comments. 801-438-9090.
Great.
And you can go to zfunding.com or creditsense.com. They both end up in the same place. And there's a little box there to schedule a funding analysis. But you watch the presentation. Jake and his team will say hi to Jake when you tell Jake. Merrill said to tell Jake hi. Anyway, info at zfunding.com, and we'll set you up with an analysis.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. You have boosted, we'll talk about Steph because Steph is using you guys. You guys have boosted with 60 plus points.
She's over 60 points across all three each bureau or higher.
Yeah, exactly. And then doing some other things and clearing stuff off that, and I think you mentioned that a little bit too. There's oftentimes a lot of stuff on our credit reports that's just erroneous, false addresses or old addresses or other things like that take time to get cleared off, but that helps boost a lot of stuff as well, right, Merrill?
Yeah, your identity, actually, it's so deceptive. People don't give away their secret sauce, right? So I'll do it for them. Your identity is actually the single most powerful part of your fundability. And if you've got multiple addresses, multiple versions of your names, multiple or especially inconsequential or irrelevant employer information, remember, underwriting these days is about data. And if the data points don't match, you're not trustworthy, period. Now, they don't tell you to do that, but it's true that if you fix all your identity pieces, if you fix the credit reporting, like just the stuff on some of Stephanie's stuff, we literally cleared off incongruencies between her accounts, right? Positive accounts, but incongruent. You're more fundable. And 60 points, when we say 60 points, we're not talking about just putting on an authorized user for a 20-year-old American Express card and your score goes up. We're talking about fundability points.
Yep.
These are, every point that goes up makes you more fundable to any homes, cars, business lines of credit, etc.
So I got a couple comments here. Todd says, Merrill is like LASIK. You see the world of credit like you never saw it before, and it's priceless. So that's, I should print screen that and send that to you. That's just awesome. Good stuff there.
Yes, please. Afterwards. Thank you, Todd. First of all, I love my clients, and I'm deeply committed to making sure everybody wins. Everybody gets the trophy, right?
Mm-hmm. Laura asked the question, and you may not know the answer to this. This may be a better question for Aaron Young at Lawful Assistance. How do you protect your business lines of credit from a lawsuit?
Because the whole point of a qualified funding entity is it's an asset protection model, right? And we don't use your deal entities with your funding entity, but we set up relationships. Yeah, I got the answer for that. All you're doing, we set up what's called a qualified funding entity, and it is an independent entity that is not part of any holding companies. It's not part of any other organization. We have clients out there with 30 LLCs because they got 3 properties in each LLC, right? Well, the funding entity is not one of those. So whoever's trying to sue, there's no cause for suit. If you don't pierce the corporate veil, there's no cause for suit, because you're backstopping the funding entity, but it has nothing to do with the source of the lawsuit.
Mm-hmm. So question for you. Here's a common misconception I think a lot of people have to have, is that you have to have an LLC in business for 2 years to start getting bank lines of credit. Is that correct, or is that false?
Well, yeah, it depends on what you're going after. Now, since these trophy lines are just that, the most precious credit instruments out there, you have to be 24 months of in business to get the trophy lines. Not the credit cards, which we designed the credit card acquisition process to build business relationship, which gets you higher and better credit lines. You can also get business loans sooner, but business credit lines is 24 months. We compact that period in a number of ways. We can modify a current entity that's 24 months or older. And technically we want, an entity is fine if it's 18 months, because we like to run traffic patterns of 6 months to prove to the banks that you're a viable borrower, right? So there's a number of strategies. We can do it as little as 90 days, but you can also use a shelf corporation. Purchase a shelf corporation, and that is aged well enough to be able to start to make it a qualified funding entity. For people with less than perfect credit, don't be disheartened. If you have less than perfect credit, we can start out with what we call a new company, and age it over the 24 months it may take for you to, if you're in the 500s, count on 2 years to be fundable. But we can build business banking relationships through every single one of those months. And you will be even more of a rock star with a 2-year business banking relationship build than a 6-month build with someone with perfect credit. Because it's all about data, guys. How much does a bank have, a lender have on you? And we tell you how to run money through your checking account, use your credit cards, business or personal. We tell you everything, how to actually create, and so that you look like the gods of Olympus and goddesses of Olympus on paper.
Now, the beautiful thing too is you guys work well with clients for a while. We're not talking 30 days or 90 days. You'll work with people for extended period of time to help them get rock and rolling, right, Merrill?
Yep. We actually go, we guarantee support for minimum of 12 months or 100 grand, whichever is longer. We have clients picking up 150, 200 grand in the first 6 or 7 months, and we still keep pushing them until they hit that 12-month mark. If you're coming from bad credit and 2-year play, we're with you until you get your first 100 grand. Remember, the 100 grand is not where we stop. it's where we get to take off the training wheels because you know how to implement the funding formula. The funding formula is just what you do every single time with a new bank. So once you do 1, 2, 3 that get you your first 100 grand, more. Now we're happy to do all of it. We have an expensive done for you service, but those people are getting funded in 120 days when they have the resources to throw at this. So some of our medium to high net worth clients, they just love being chauffeured around, and proverbially all we need them for is wet ink signatures and to shake the hand of the banker that we've made appointments with. So if we're not doing it for you, you got to do it for you, but we're right there in your ear. We're right there supporting you every step of the way. Minimum of 100 grand in business credit, true business credit. And we don't stop until then.
So one of the great things is you guys may not know this, everybody, but Merrill can be a secret weapon for you. He is one of the he's very knowledgeable, one of the smartest guys when it comes to what you're doing, and the best at what you do. That's why we have you on here. But you were sharing a little thing before we went on today about how in April you went to a special event, and you were technically the low man on the totem pole, though, too, correct?
All right, yeah. Great way to close out. So I have the privilege of attending FICO World, which is, everybody knows what FICO is. FICO is the quintessential score. 95+% of all business decisioning is made by FICO scoring algorithm. They are now, over the last 2 years, they've been building what's called SBSS, which is Small Business Scoring Service. It's a FICO service, and it's replacing Paydex. Paydex is last century, guys. That score is worthless, and FICO has taken it over. So I've attended these FICO World conclaves, and I mean, there's people from everywhere, because every banking institution in the world uses FICO. Well, I'm there. I am normally, I'm proud to say I'm the smartest man in the room, in any room when we're talking about credit, except at FICO World. I swear to Buddha. I'm sitting there, the waiters probably know more than me because they keep hosting the FICO Worlds, right? These guys are geniuses. Now, I've had the opportunity of sitting down in a formal meeting with Will Lansing, the CEO of FICO. And when I told him what our business model was, that we make borrowers more fundable so lenders can trust to give them money. He's like, let me have you talk to my score development teams. And I met with the personal score development team and the business score development team to find out kind of the secret sauce. They NDA'd me so that I couldn't give away all the stuff we discussed, right? I have an NDA with FICO. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. So our whole point is we come back from every one of these conclaves with more juice, more information to tighten up our optimization process. And we have everything necessary to make you a funding entity. I mean, make you just bulletproof when it comes to funding.
That's awesome. You guys just do an amazing job. I'm so proud of what you're doing, how you're helping students, you're helping out there as well. It had an impact on what we're doing here as well too. So big excited to have you on the show on a regular basis. Big announcement too. Credit Sense is one of the newest sponsors of the Note Closer Show, which is great. We're excited to have you there. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for being a part. So you're going to see, I know Merrill I love it. Your excitement is just contagious, Merrill. And you can sense that out there, everybody, about how excited he is. He loves what he does. He loves helping. His whole staff is phenomenal across the board as well too. But Merrill's going to be a regular guest on the show here once a month at least, along with some other things up there. And we've got some great stuff, some great case studies you're going to be sharing over the time.
We're going to dive deep. Every time I'm on, you better watch this one first because you're not going to know where we are in the caverns of credit and business funding in our next episode. So
exactly. So big encouragement, guys. Go out, email them info@z as in zebra, zfunding.com. They'll send over a video for you to watch and go from there. They'll do a credit analysis for you there as well too. Or you can pick up the phone and call them 801-438-9090. Once again, that's 801-438-9090. You will not be disappointed. And trust me, we had on a money karma coach on about an hour ago talking about, people get nervous and upset about it. Don't do this. put it down. One of the best ways to grow your fundability, to go out and raise some capital, whether it's for your own lines of credit or things like that, is to know where you stand. That's the first step. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. You've got an amazing guy to hold your hand up to that first 100,000, no matter how long it takes. And I guarantee it, Merrill stands by his word when it comes to that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Merrill, thank you so much for being on the Note Close Show, bud. Love it. Great seeing you. We're glad to have you aboard here as a sponsor. And just that, hey, we love having you as a friend and extend part of the Note family. So
yeah. Hey, thank you so much. You guys be well. And call us. Just get a damn analysis. Find out the truth of your situation at least.
That's amen to that. Amen to that. We'll see you later, Merrill.
All right, man. Be well.
Thanks, bud. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up for this episode of the Note Close Show. Like I said, do yourself a favor. Get on to CreditSense or zfunding.com. Email them. Get you an analysis done. You will not be disappointed. Who wouldn't want to have $100,000 to go buy some notes or grow that to $500,000 in business funds and business lines of credit? Because you can do a lot of damage when you start having 6 figures in lines of credit for you. Okay. We'll see you guys all. Go out, make something happen, and we'll see you all at the top, everybody. Bye.